Not a film. A periodic look into the world of music.
No.
So, one of the best bands I think of modern times, Sun Kil Moon, have released a new album, Universal Themes. And it has a lyric book, which is this long.
Oh my god.
It's about half a Marcus. like a whole sat down Chris from the waist up. Like, look at that.
That's huge.
Yes, so Universal Themes is the 7th, I think, Sun Kil Moon album. Sun Kil Moon, yeah. Sort of a sequel band to the Red House Painters, Mark Kozelek's earlier 90s band. They've released classic album after classic album. They released Ghosts of the Great Highway, which is a classic. April, which is a classic. Then they had a really weird period. They released an album called Admiral Fell Promise, which is the most dull album ever made. Literally, it's got 10 songs on. All are about 6 minutes.
Oh god.
All have an intro and an outro. Like, that's a minute long, which is just the main guy playing Spanish guitar. Every single song is just him with just playing a guitar talking. Every song sounds identical.
Oh dear.
Yes, it was a bit of a misstep. Then he sort of went a bit crazy and started singing songs that were basically just about himself. He released the album Among the Leaves. Among the Leaves has songs such as the mildly attractive 20-something-year-old talks to the unattractive but wildly talented middle-aged singer. And track 8, a song all about composing the 8th track on his album Among the Leaves.
Oh yeah.
It was, to say the least, a failed experiment.
That sounds horrible.
It is got some really good stuff on, because he's an interesting guy and just hearing him talk is brilliant. But it stays firmly within sort of the 6 or 7 out of 10 territory. Then, last year, he made probably his most popular album, an absolute masterpiece called Benji. Benji is an album which, again, is pretty much all about him. It features, every single song features him referring to himself as I, and it features songs, like, lyrics which are clearly about himself. But it has, like, much deeper themes than composing the 8th track on an album. Like, the first song, Clarissa, is all about the death of his cousin. It's got references to things like James Gandolfini dying. It's much more like Steve Shelley from Sonic Youth is the drummer.
Oh yeah.
And all the songs are much more vivid. It's 11 tracks. They're much more lively than just him playing an intro and outro, 4 minutes of singing on Spanish guitar. That sounds exactly like the first minute of one of his songs. So Benji got him like a whole new audience, and it made him semi-respected in sort of pitchfork audiences. It was a semi-big hit, so he's in an interesting position now of following up probably his most acclaimed album for about a decade at least. And how does he refer it with? How does he follow it up with? Universal Themes, an album with lyrics such as these.
Read us some choice lyrics, Marcus.
Yes, okay. Oh my god, this is so exciting. It's New Year's Day in New Orleans. It's so hard to read. Don't you find these like lyric things annoying? Because it's really hard to tell when one sentence begins and ends.
Oh my god, it's upside down.
Yeah, hold on.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'll be able to do it now. But yeah, but I like these like albums where they're like made of cardboard. It's much better than them stupid fucking jewel cases.
Let's feel like actual vinyls, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're much nicer.
Anyway, it's New Year's Day in New Orleans. I'm walking to the rib room with the girl of my dreams, and when we're walking I have thoughts I'm not sure what others have, like how the most underrated actor in the world is Steve Railsback, who played Manson in Helter Skelter and who played Ed Gein, and he's been in a few Rob Zombie films too. I'm pretty sure, I think yesterday we were at Honey Island Swamp. I was thinking about the new year and what I'm going to do, and I thought about the movie Southern Comfort with Keith Carradine, Fred Ward, Peter Coyote and Powers Booth, and the slide guitar soundtrack of Raikuda, and how Powers Booth could have played Vincent Balloon Joe in the movie Helter Skelter, Manson's famous prosecutor who could have pursued acting, or maybe... Yes, so basically, very long... Right, there are 8 songs on this album, right, and it's 70 minutes long.
Oh my god.
And every song features sort of incredibly rambling narratives. Like that song, he just opens it up with talking about how he thinks the most underrated actor in the world is Steve Railsback. You're into film. Who's Steve Railsback?
I got no idea.
No one knows, yes. But, so his lyrical style, as you might be able to tell from this, is basically as rambling as possible. I actually really like this album, but it's gotten some very mixed reviews.
Oh yeah.
It's gotten either 10s or sort of 3s.
Oh, one of them.
Yeah, it's one of them.
The
All sort of a bit.
inherent vice of music.
It's an inherent vice of music, yes. People are saying either he's disappeared completely up his own arse, or he's made a very good album. Yes. So what he'll do as well, which is well, I think the criticism of the album is sort of a bit silly. It's not, because people are either saying that they're sort of like opposing as well. You can only put it in through there.
No.
It's not some kind of magic CD. But yeah, people are saying
This is only Sun Kil Moon.
it is so cool. People are saying that either he's talking so specific to himself it makes no one can listen to it other than Mark Kozelek, who's the guy who wrote every song, or that he's been too universal. So like, and if the sort of opposing criticisms that he's either singing stuff that's so mundane it's meaningless, or he's singing stuff that's so specific it's meaningless. Okay. But it can't be both, can it?
No.
You can't sing songs that are too universal and too specific.
That's very precise.
But those are what the criticisms are like. They're like, a lot of people are acting as if he's just thrown random lyrics at the wall and like that's it. But I think what he's trying to do is much, much more specific than that. I think he's done it on purpose. I mean, no one's going to put out an album, are they, of just random musings and stuff.
Well, people have done.
People have.
People have done, yeah.
No, who's put out like an album of random mutterings?
Neil Young's new album.
Yeah, but it's Mark Kozelek's a genius, not Neil. Neil Young was a genius. But what he'll normally do is like,
Are you not pumped for Neil Young's The Monsanto years?
No. It's actually interesting you mentioned that because he was a massive influence on Sun Kil Moon with Neil Young.
Oh yeah.
Not specifically this album. But what he'll normally do is start a song with some kind of rambling sort of narrative like that. And then what happens is he'll turn it into a sort of deeper thing. Like when he talks about Steve Railsback and Powers Boothe, he then turns it into, like there's a line where he's like, I could have been an actor, one of them soundtrack guys, but I'm not. I'm a singer-songwriter and he will be till I die. And it's all about how he's had these sort of random thoughts and sort of, it's like, it is specific to him. I'm sure that not a lot of people are thinking about Steve Railsback. Are you Steve Railsback? Who are you, Steve Railsback?
What films have you been in?
Yeah, but everyone can sort of empathise with that idea of, you know, thinking about what you could be.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of stuff. So that is a universal theme, but he's putting it so specific to himself.
Yeah.
Sort of to open his world up a little bit. So it's like, these are my thoughts, but then here's something more specific about it. It's a really weird album because it's not as good as Benji as an album, but it's got two of the best songs he's ever done. It's got this absolutely amazing opening song. It's one of them albums though, and all it opens with the best song.
Oh yeah.
Which is a bit frustrating, isn't it? Because then you're like, you've heard this, and then it's like a bit like,
goes downhill a bit.
Yeah, deflates. Yeah. It's called The Possum, right? And this is the one where his like lyric style really, really works. Because what happens is it's two stories. It's about a possum who he finds in his nook, who fought a cat and died. And it's also about him going to see a band called Godflesh live.
Oh yeah.
And that's like the first minutes about this possum who fights this cat and dies. And then like there's about 4 minutes that are about him seeing this band called Godflesh. And he's a really, really good writer in terms of specifics. So you can imagine you're there. Like the lighting is so vivid. And then he talks about how he empathises with this dead possum. And about how he hopes when he dies fighting like that. But then he talks about how he also wishes that he had music sort of in his ears when he, like, you know, is thinking of that because he's a musician, and about how he loves music. And so it ties in the death of this possum with going to see this band in a way that's totally organic to the song, because it's like the death of this possum which happened at the same time we saw this band, and about how it's giving you context for like the last 3 minutes, which are a rumination on dying and this through the lens of a dead possum. So that song, I don't think, even with the criticism, you could criticise that song. That song just works. Like, and it's instrumentally incredibly ambitious, which some of the weaker songs don't really have. Like, it begins with a sort of, just begins with him playing acoustic guitar. Then it becomes electric. And then it has loads of bits where it sort of stops and then does spoken word and starts again. All the songs are sort of piecemeal. Lyrically, you can tell they're all written at once, but like musically, it's stops and starts, spoken word, really weird sort of stuff on there. It sounds a lot when he speaks, just doing spoken word, like a band called Slint, who did an album called Spiderland.
Oh yeah.
Which is amazing, but it sounds a bit like that. So The Possum is the best song on there, and probably the best song I've heard this year. So that one's amazing. Birds of Film is a really weird one. That's one where it isn't universal, really. It's all about him. He was in a film recently called Youth, by Paul Sorrentino. It premiered at Cannes last week, and it's all about him being in Switzerland filming it. But I suppose even then you could extrapolate that to being about the idea of working in doing something you're not comfortable with. He's a singer, not a writer, and about being stuck in sort of a foreign place where you're not really comfortable with it. Sort of paints this vivid picture of like, you know, where he is and all this kind of stuff. What he does and all is give every character a name. I know it's not like a new thing, but in songs it's normally not like that, is it? It's not that specific.
It's not about narrative.
It's not, like, but every single song on here is a narrative, but not like lame, like you know, like spoken word.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really hard to explain like how things like that are lame and other things aren't. I'm trying to give a good example of something that's just like, how can I think now? Like
The Raven by Lou Reed.
The Raven by Lou Reed, or some kind of 70s prog rock album. But all the songs in here are much more alive than that kind of stuff. The one song that just doesn't work on the album is Nook 3. They all have great names, these songs. With a sort of grace I walk to the bathroom to cry.
Oh, great.
Yeah, but this song's just a bit rubbish. It's got like, it's a proper like rock track, but it sounds like the track was composed in a separate room to the vocals, and then they were badly put together.
Oh.
And then it goes clear again, so it's clearly intentional. Then it goes back to that. But yeah, that song just doesn't really work. It's one about like a friend of his who had like shingles or something. It's not very good, so you can ignore that track. It's one of these albums where he's followed up like a critically acclaimed masterpiece, and it's got some really, really great songs on, but overall it isn't as good as Benji. The highlights are better, but overall it's just a bit hit and miss. A bit like, I'm trying to think of like a famous album that's a follow-up that's not as good as another one. The Who. They followed up Quadrophenia with that song, that album that's
The Who by Numbers.
The Who by Numbers. That's an awful example.
Yeah.
No.
No, you need one where Desire following Blood on the Tracks.
Yeah.
I think some of the tracks on Desire are almost as equal to Blood on the Tracks, but overall the album is a little bit more hit and miss than Blood on the Tracks.
Yeah.
It's a really good follow-up, and the peaks are really high. The lows are nowhere near as...
Yes.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yes. Well, it sort of is similar to that in a way, because sort of like Blood on the Tracks is really personal, isn't it? It's personal to Bob Dylan, but anyone can relate to it. Desire is got some tracks that are more personal, like Sarah is really personal.
Yeah.
Slightly embarrassing, but personal.
A little bit, yeah.
But the songs just don't have that same effect. The songs, again, are longer. They just don't hit as home as hard.
Yeah.
And again, as you say, like Hurricane's a great song, Sarah's a great song. One More Cup of Coffee's great. Mozambique.
Or Joey.
Or Joey.
Oh, Joey.
Yeah. But this album's better than Desire. But it's a good example of an album where someone's followed up a classic with one that's got some great stuff on, one that'll probably improve a lot with repeated listenings, and he's followed it up, to be fair to him, he's followed it with something completely different. It's a lot more rock, it's much more varied. It's not like him and like his, what's it called? It's a guitar but the strings aren't, it's like nylon.
Oh yeah.
Like a nylon, it's not, because like Benji, a lot of it is him playing acoustically. And it also doesn't feel shaped to be an album in a way. Like Benji is one where it has like peaks and troughs, so it all builds up to the classic song. I watched the film, the song remains the same.
Oh yeah.
And then it sort of dies down a bit to the end where it references every other song, sort of in an obtuse way, which is sort of what this one does again. But yeah, it's just hard to concentrate as much on these ones because they're so long.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it shouldn't be a criticism, obviously, just the length themselves, but I don't think some of the weaker tracks, like With a Sort of Grace I Walk to the Bathroom to Cry, or Garden of Lavender, justify the length as much.
Well, I think that's a fair criticism.
Yeah. But not just the fact it's long, just the fact that some of the songs aren't as sort of interesting.
Yeah.
I don't really justify that. Like, Benji, is like, that song I was just saying then, that Benji is a shorter album, despite having like 11 tracks as opposed to 8. And it's only got one 10-minute long song on, so the whole album builds up to that. And then when that finishes, it's got a couple more tracks that take it down a bit before the ending. So it's like an emotional experience, you know, like a complete work of art. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yes.
this album just doesn't have that kind of. It's got a great opening and a great ending, and just a bit of a weak middle.
Okay.
And it's also got a song which I'm very contradictory about. It's called Cry Me a River, Williamsburg Sleeve Tattoo Blues. And the track is about a guy who goes to a Sun Kil Moon concert and criticises it. And it's about a real guy who had a go at him, who had a tattoo sleeve apparently. And then he says like about how entitled this guy is having a go at him when there's all these real problems in the world. And then lists a bunch of actual things that could happen to him. Like, it lists people that he knew who, like, I don't know, like in a wheelchair and then died and stuff like that. Or, you know, like, you could get killed on the street and stuff.
Yeah.
But it just feels a bit pathetic. Like, you can't just, why would you compose a whole song just about someone having a go at you?
Yeah.
And the stuff like, it must be semi-parodic. I think that's the word for if you like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Like, the stuff isn't even like, that he's like, about Sun Kil Moon isn't even stuff that's unfair. Like, he's not criticising, he's like, the lyrics are completely ridiculous. Went to see a band tonight and they wouldn't play my favourite tune. It's 2012, but I like the ones from 1992. There was no place to sit, and god damn it, I couldn't use my phone. And fuck it if the singer didn't joke, we all looked like cut out clones. They played too long and I didn't like his new words. That guys in tennis shoes and moderately talented yet attractive young girls. So it's like, look at how long the track is and all.
It is, yeah.
With having a go at stuff. So yeah, really, really weird album, because like, I would recommend buying it. If you're a fan of Sun Kil Moon, the 6 classic songs on here are great, and if it was 50 minutes long, it'd be great. But it's just those 2 tracks. It's just, and they're right next to each other.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, like, you've got that song with a sort of Grace High Waters of Bathroom to Cry, followed straight by Cry Me a River, Williamsburg Sleeve Tattoo Blues. It's a good song musically, that Williamsburg Blues one. It's just lyrically, it's just a bit whiny.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I would recommend if you're a big fan of Sun Kil Moon, buy it. It's good it's interesting what he's doing, this sort of stream of conscious writing. And it also works to give like the feel that everything that he's talking about to him is sort of equal importance. Because he goes from one sentence talking about like people he's known as, like in that song, Alice Spinks 2, which is the one where he talks about Steve Railsbeck. He like goes from talking about like a friend of his mum who died at 99 and about how they were close to 100 but they were ready to go and like all this sort of deeper stuff, and then just launches into what he had for dinner. And it gives the feel that everything is sort of connected and everything's of equal importance, as if one moment sort of is just as important as the next.
Yeah.
And like, you know, all about that cycle of life stuff. So it's really interesting what he's trying to do lyrically, and I can understand what he's trying to achieve and stuff. It's just that when he goes too specific to the point where no one could sort of, no one can empathise with
having a fan shouting at him and telling him off not playing the music he wants to. Yeah. I can get that.
I mean, you can understand, but like to make it so specific at that point is to the detriment of the song. Yeah, so good album. Fan of Sun Kil Moon. Buy it. I would give it an 8 out of 10. But it's weird though, because technically you could just edit this yourself down to 8
Exactly,
tracks.
yeah,
so
that's it, yeah.
Like in the vinyl generation, you know,
you were stuck with it.
You would, that is a valid criticism, but now technically, you know, an album is just something you can just edit to. I mean, even if you took them 2 tracks out, you've still got 50 minutes of solid music.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, so is it really... I suppose it's fair to criticise what we have, but I would recommend, if you got rid of those 2 tracks, this would be a 10 out of 10. Now it's like an 8 or a 7. It's got some of the best music you'll hear all year. The Possum probably the best song. Just buy it and edit it down.
Get rid of those 2 songs.
Get rid of those 2 tracks. But yeah, and this is, even within his fans, I think it's sort of, because he's built a lot of new fans with Benji. Like, I went to see him live, which I'll talk about soon, and like the guy, I sort of was chatting to this guy who was like, who didn't know any of the songs other than the ones on Benji. And I reckon a lot of people would have been like that. Like, he'd never played Leeds apparently before, probably because he couldn't, and it was a sold out gig. Like, so yeah, like, I mean, it's pretty ballsy really because he must know he's built up all these fans and all this acclaim and all these awards and stuff, to follow it up with like, this incredibly long, rambling album. But yeah, it also has a really weird effect of being like a sort of memoir. Like, he talks about these specific stuff and then I put a date on them. Like he'll say like, it's February 2nd, I'm in Switzerland shooting this film and stuff.
Okay.
So it's almost like he's recording like an audio memoir. But yeah, really weird album, really, really good. So like, mainly great. Buy it. Sun Kil Moon, you like it, it's good. In terms of their discography so far, it's not as good as Benji or April or Ghost of the Great Highway, but it's a lot better than his weird period. It achieves being sort of a good album and being universal a lot better than that fucking Among the Leaves I was saying with track number 8 on it. There's not a bit where he just talks about writing like well actually he does talk about composing an album but in a more interesting way than like just about how hard it is to write track 8.
Yeah.
But yeah, buy Universal Themes if you're a fan of Sun Kil Moon.